The Modern Man tutorials. You don't have a preference, you have a limitation. Alright, this doesn't apply to a lot of guys, obviously. The point is, most of you guys, it's not that you have a preference, it's that you have limitations. Most of you guys can't pull the chicks that you want, and the chicks that you say you don't want, more likely it's because you can't pull them, or yeah, you don't like them, but now you're just limiting yourself. So there's limitations that you impose on yourself, and there's limitations just by the social sexual marketplace, right? So something I've noticed a lot is guys will talk about they don't want a chick who's plus size, blah blah blah. They want a skinny chick. But the thing is like, but I could tell you can't even get the fat chick. So it's not like you get a whole bunch of fat chicks and you're like, it's not my preference. I mean, they want me, but I don't want them. You know, so I have a preference. That would make it a true preference is if you can get chicks that you don't want, right? Then, but so you do have a preference. So it's like you prefer something different. That's that. That's how preference works. You have a preference, but at least you can still get what you don't want, right? But most guys can't even get the chicks they don't want, let alone get the chicks that they do want. And this happens, and I see this a lot. And further proof of that is when a guy talking about, you don't like big girls, and then, he will complain about, chicks aren't loyal, I can't trust them, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, well, that's why I'm single. It's like, no. You said you had a preference, which was skinny chicks. But you're out here complaining about big girls. When you shouldn't, because you have a preference, right? Your preference is skinny chicks, so focus on them. Right? Focus on talking to them and getting them. But the thing is, you can't even get the skinny chicks. So so your preference means nothing if you can't get your preference, right? If your preference is Asian chicks and you can't pull them because they have no interest in you, then your preference means nothing. Then you have a useless preference. You have a sad preference because it's like, well, it's sad. You like something, but that something doesn't like you back. Right? Like let's say you see a puppy. It's like, oh, that's a cute puppy. I want that puppy. But then the puppy runs away from you. It doesn't like you. It fears you. Right? That's a sad situation to be in. Right? Because you like the puppy, but the puppy doesn't like you. Right? So it's the same thing comes with the ladies. Most of you guys can't even get the chicks y'all don't want. Yet have the audacity to, be disrespectful and be like, well, I have a preference and my preference is blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, cool. You're allowed to have your preference. But here's the thing. Are you getting along with your preference? Are you pulling your preference? Does your preference like you? Are you your preference? Most of you guys aren't worthy of your preference. Most of you guys aren't the type of guy that your preference prefers. Let's say you like Asian chicks, but let's say the Asian chicks, they like Mexican guys. But you're white. You're not Mexican. So she won't give you time of day. See, your preference is Asian, but her preference is Hispanic. So you see, that right there is not working for you. Now, I always talk about the exception, right? The exception to rule concept, the exception, where she can make an exception. And if you that guy, right, you got swag, whatever, right? Whatever makes you special enough to her that she's like, you know what? I'll make an exception for you. I would date you, white boy, instead of her preference. So she'll get away from her preference. But this is why it adds to the fact that a lot of guys talking about they have preferences, but they can't get their preference. So then, and since they can't get their preference, they don't want their non-preference, even though they should consider the non-preference, because their non-preference more likely do prefer them, right? Whatever. But they rather just like, nah, I'd rather have nothing than something. It's like, nah, that's not a manly mentality. Men want something because it's better than nothing. Now, ladies try to be more stubborn and be like, no, I want what I want. He has to be perfect. I accept nothing but perfection. It's like, okay, no one's perfect, so you're delusional. That's why it's delusional. Guys are delusional too. You're delusional if you think it's better to be alone. It's better to have nothing than something. No, that's delusional. So it's always better to have something than nothing. So it's better to have a chick that's, you know, that's at least biologically a female, right? She's submissive, sex sandwich silence, all the good stuff, right? As long as she's a decent human being and she's the female gender, that's all you need. That's more than enough. You don't deserve any more than that anyway. Most of you guys don't deserve anything more than just that. She's biologically female and she actually tolerates your old goofy ass. But most of you guys think you deserve top tier, deserve the best of the best, the hottest chicks on the planet. It's like, no, you don't. No, you don't. And then some guys want multiple chicks, but you're not the guys that can have multiple chicks. You're not the guys, you guys don't have the personality, don't have the looks, don't have the swag, don't have the lifestyle for multiple chicks. But you think because you're online, you hear people say, guys with money and stuff like that say, oh yeah, you can have multiple chicks. Guys love multiple chicks, having multiple chicks. Yeah, those guys. Guys with the money and stuff like that, right? Not you guys who, not at their level, right? So just be realistic. It's like most of you guys don't have really preferences. It's you have limitations. Most of you guys can't do better than what you got. It's the whole, you hear in the red pill community, the whole only as loyal as your options. It's like, it's true. Because here's the thing. Most guys out here will be like, oh man, I love McDonald's, or I love ramen noodles or something like that, right? They'll some cheap food item. But then when you give them the option to choose between that cheap food item that they love so much, oh man, I love me some hot fried Cheetos or whatever, some hot Fritos, whatever, Cheetos. And then right next to it, some type of 5-star restaurant meal or something, or just something fancy, right? And it's like choosing between the two, logically most guys will go for the better thing, right? Just like if a guy is like, oh yeah, I like me short, not too attractive females. They're like, all right, cool. But then you put some hot chicks right next to her, suddenly he's staring at the hot chicks. It's like, okay. We know the truth. Most of you guys are hypocrites, when it comes to certain things. And that's the thing, is I see a lot of that hypocrisy online, which is a very feminine thing to do, is to be a hypocrite. To say one thing and do the opposite. Just like it's funny when guys talk about they don't like big girls, but that's usually who they deal with, who they mess around with. Publicly, secretly, whatever, right? If we were to look up their porn history, you'll see the words big. Just type in the word big to their favorite porn site, and you'll see what they like. So this bullshit that they don't like, it's like you can have a preference, something you prefer, but the thing about preference is you prefer it doesn't mean you deserve it. Doesn't mean that's all you get. That means that's all you've ever had, so that's why it is your preference. Because think about it, a guy who's been on an island with a whole bunch of white girls, his preference obviously is going to be white girls, because that's all he knows. But if he travels and sees other ladies of different shapes and sizes, his preference is going to change. And that's the thing, guys are about adapting, changing to the environment, improving. So this whole idea of I have a preference. And it's like, that's not your preference. That's something you heard other guys out here say, and then you made it your preference because you're trying to, most of you guys are trying to weaponize the whole idea of, you wanting a chicken that's in shape. But the thing is, most of you guys are not in shape. Most of you guys have no intention of getting in shape. Most of you guys definitely can't get a chick who's in shape. Most of you guys can't even get a chick who's out of shape to get into shape. Yet y'all keep trying. Y'all keep trying by complaining. Oh, girl, you big. Lose weight. Go to the gym. Why don't you be the guy that's worthy of that? Why don't you be the guy that she wants so bad that as soon as you be like, well, to get me, because I'm that desirable, go to the gym. Then you can get me. She'll do it if you're that guy. But you're not that guy. Most of you guys aren't that guy. Most of you guys will never be that guy. Partly it's because most of you guys don't want to be that guy. Because to be that guy, you got to put in some effort or just be naturally good at it. But, naturally that guy. But most guys don't even want to put in the effort to be that guy. That guy that has options. The guy that's worthy, that leads and women follow. Most of you guys aren't that guy. Most of you guys don't even take care of yourselves, let alone, talking about being a provider and a protector. When most of you guys can't protect yourselves, most of you guys can't fight. Most of you guys are talk and no bite, right? All bark and no bite, as they say. Most of you guys are as feminine as the females are supposed to be. There's a reason why females are masculine. Is because the lack of masculinity in guys. Y'all switch roles. You started getting in your feminine energy, and they started getting in their masculine because there was a lack of masculine energy. Somebody had to have the energy, right? The energy doesn't disappear, it doesn't get destroyed. It changes, it transfers. So what happened was, when guys started being less masculine, that masculine energy had to go somewhere, and it went into the ladies. Now they became more masculine, right? So everything's all upside down. Everything's all backwards. So now we need to get the balance back on the force. Get the masculine back to the guy's side and the feminine stuff to the female side. Get shit right. Get shit put back together properly. Instead of this nonsense that we're dealing with out here. But like I said, most of you guys have limits. It's not preference. Most of you guys can't do better. Most of you guys is because either it is socially, maybe it's environmental, like the location you're at, you can't do no better than the chicks that's available, or you just don't got game, right? So since you don't have a particular set of skills to do better than what what you're limited to, than what you got, right? Then that's what you got. If you want chicks that, like on Instagram, for example, but they want guys who got yachts, but you don't have the skill set to get a yacht, well, then you're never going to get these chicks, right? Obviously. So it becomes less of a preference and more of a limitation, because you can't get what you want. And I see this a lot. That's why I'm like, yeah, you guys have this preference. Oh, you prefer this, you prefer that. And that's cool. You're entitled to your preference. The thing is, can you get your preference, though? The problem is most of you guys can't get your preference. Most of you guys, that your preference is way out of reach. Your preference tends to prefer other things, tends to prefer other guys. That's the thing. Like a lot of the chicks y'all want don't want you. Because the chicks y'all don't want, you don't care. You don't care about their preference, right? You don't care that they don't like you. That's irrelevant. Those are not the ones that matter to you. It's the ones that you like are the ones that matter to you. But because they don't reciprocate, they don't like you back the same way, then suddenly it's a problem. Instead of understanding that it's you that's the real problem, because you're not that guy that she wants, is why you're in the situation you're in. You have a preference, but the preference is pointless. If you can't get your preference, then your preference needs to change, because your preference is not gonna change. Your preference is still going to prefer what they want. Maybe you might get lucky. Maybe 2 years from now, the types of chicks you want might actually start wanting you. All right, cool. Man, you're gonna have to wait 2 years. But hey, if it happens, it happens. But that's not a guarantee, though. I'm just saying hypothetically that could happen, right? Just like right now, it's winter season. Chicks out here talking about big boys. Like, okay, time for the big boys to shine. But we all know that has a time limit, right? And we know just a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, there's a big complaint about guys being big, being losers. And then now is being big is good, right? That kind of nonsense. But we all know that's going to disappear eventually. Just like not too long ago, chicks being thick. Guys were out here talking about thick. Yeah, I love thick. Everything thick. Oh, don't call her fat. She's not fat. She's thick. She's beautiful. Blah, blah, blah. Shit, I had guys coming at me just for pointing out the fact. It's like, she's not thick. She's not thick. Thick is very specific. It's fat in specific areas, not fat all around. Fat all around is just fat. fat in specific body parts is thick. You know, a skinny chick can be thick by having fat in her ass and thighs and chest. That will make her thick. That's the idea of thick, is extra large on certain parts, not she's entirely large. If she's entirely large, she's not thick, she's fat. But fat chicks, we're big girls, right? We're trying to make it where thick applied to them because it sounds better than fat. So it's like, no, I'm thick, I'm thick. Then now we convert it to plus size. Now we're even saying big girls. Now big girl. I remember when saying big girl to a chick was an insult. Now it's what they want you to call them. Yeah, call me big girl, call me big girl. You're a grown woman. I shouldn't be calling you big girl. There's a problem if I'm calling you a girl. And big on top of that, right? But that's what they want. So be it. So be it. They want to be big girls. They want to be daddy's little girl. Right? See the trend there? It's what they want. They're the ones that wanting this. They're the ones that like these terms. Pay attention, guys. Pay attention. We keep telling them to not mess with the fuck boys. But that's all they keep trying to mess with is the fuck boys. Not men. Boys. They say men ain't shit, but they don't say fuck boys ain't shit. Notice that? Notice that pattern? That's a weird little pattern that I'm noticing, right? That they always say men ain't shit, even though men is what you should want. Men are awesome. Men are good. They're not pieces of shit like fuckboys are. Like an immature, irresponsible male is a piece of shit. But they want to negatively talk about men. It's like, y'all like fuck boys, but hate men. That doesn't sound right. That's a little suspect, but that's for a different topic. Point is, most of you guys don't have preference. Most of you guys have limitations more than you have preference. But you know, get what you can, right? Get what you can. And that's the main point I'm trying to make here is get what you can, try to improve, try to realize if you truly have a preference or you just have a limitation, right? Because a lot of times, that's probably what it is. You have a limitation. You think you can get, a skinny chick, but you actually can't. And you need to come to that realization. You can't pull what you want. So you need to start pulling what you can get, which more likely is going to be what you need anyway. Because you need somebody. Regardless if you believe it or not, you need somebody. Because a man is a problem solver, a man is a provider, a giver. He needs someone to provide and give for, someone to protect. That is a manly purpose. That's a biological thing if you want to go that route. It's science. It's not an opinion. It's not social construct, none of that bullshit. No, it's just, that's what you exist for. You take away society. You take away money, bills, jobs, and stuff like that. What will we have left? If we take away society, we take away what makes this world the way it is right now. It'd just be us, guys, gals, right? Men, women, sex sandwich times, right? That's it, right? Eat, sleep, reproduce. That's all we will have. Nobody will have jobs. No one will have bills. No one will have responsibilities, right? Other than protecting, providing, right? Being submissive, aka she's willing to make babies with you, just you, right? That kind of stuff. It's like if you boil it down to the most basic stuff, it's just eat, sleep, and reproduce. Is all you fundamentally are. Everything else is man-made. Everything else we created. Society, we created money, we created jobs, problems, we created all these things. They're not as important as the most basic biological things, which is eat, sleep, and reproduce, which are things you need biologically to do. You know, most guys out here mentally tripping. And the reason why? Because you don't have the reproduction aspect. You don't have someone to take care of, someone to provide and protect. Because you literally are built to protect. You literally have the skill sets, the logic brain, right, to problem solve, right, to be able to provide. Yet you're talking about, oh, I'm gonna be single, gym bros, fuck these hoes, I don't need them, blah blah blah. It's like you do need them because you need them to deal with, to solve their problems. Right? They'll create a problem, you solve it. They're hungry, you feed them, aka provide, right? They're in danger, you protect them, right? That's your biological imperative. Your purpose on this planet is for those things. It ain't to play video games, gym bros, be lazy, Netflix, Pornhub, like none of that nonsense. But whatever. That's for another conversation.